get comfortable, because today I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. Pay attention, Ken, because today we're going to do a crash course in hardlining. We're going to go from how tube comes, how to cut it, how to flare it, how to bend it, all so that it looks killer when you're done. So all the chapters are going to be labeled so that it's easy for you guys to navigate if you need to go back and check out a certain section again. I know a lot of you have written me and told me that you're in various states of your own projects with your own Blazers and Bourbons and other cars. So I figured this would be a real potentially helpful video for a lot of you because, you know, if you're going to strip your car down and build a chassis, why not replace all that crusty old stuff with nice new stuff? So with that, let's get into it. So step one is going to be your tubing. You can't have hard lines if you don't have any hard tubing, right? So there's three main kinds. You've got your regular coated steel, you've got your stainless steels, and then I don't have any of it on hand because I don't really use it, but they've got nickel copper. So it's copper that's alloyed with about, I think, 10% nickel. So it's flexible like copper is, but it's still stronger like steel is. It's not quite as like easy to crush and stuff as copper is. So really the only thing that I personally use anymore is stainless whenever possible. It doesn't mean that it's better than like the regular just coated steel or the nickel copper. Both of those are a lot more forgiving. I've done a lot of brake lines over the years, a lot of transmission lines, fuel lines, all of that. And I'm just kind of to the point with my own builds where stainless is pretty, you can polish it and it looks gorgeous. And I try to use AN fittings just about everywhere I can nowadays. So stainless steel is just the way to go for me, but functionally, it's not any better than the other options. Your best bet is probably going to be, especially if you're new, the most forgiving is going to be that nickel copper. It's, like I said, it's soft like copper. It's easy to bend. If you kind of mess something up, it's easy to get in there and fix it by hand. But like I said, I don't have any on hand because I don't really personally use it anymore. So your tubing is going to come in two main ways. You're either going to get like lengths of tube from your parts store, and that'll normally come with a couple fittings on it. And it'll come in rolls if you get like 25 feet at a time, which is typically how I do it personally. If you buy it in a roll, you're going to need to straighten it first. So that's why I have like a tubing straightener. And this one's nice. It's kind of labeled as to what diameter tubing you're using. There's a ton of different kinds of these. There's little handhold ones. There's these style. There's ones that are more expensive than this. They all work for the most part. It's just, you know, some work better than others. And they all work better than trying to straighten it by hand, right? So like you get that straightened by hand a little bit, you can see it's still pretty wavy, but you can run it through here. Let me set this to 3/16. You can see how much straighter that is than it was doing it by hand. So now, once you've got your tube, you figured out which way you're going to do it, whether you're going to buy the pre-done or you're going to buy it in rolls, you're going to need to cut it to length. So you just get your normal tubing cutters. If you've never used one of those, we'll do a quick little cut on this. So you put the tube in, works around, tighten a little bit, work it around, tighten a little bit, work it around. And that gives you a nice square cut at the end. And then since you're going to be putting this through different flares, you need to clean up that cut end. So I usually take a small file and I'll take the lip off the outside edge. And then these tubing cutters leave a little burr on the inside. I don't know if you can see that or not. So you'll want to take your deburr tool and clean up the inside like that. So that way your flare tools can go in there and work well, and you don't have little chunks of garbage getting in your brake lines. So next we'll go to the different methods of flaring. So the two most common types of flares you're going to use are your 37-degree Attn style flares. That's what that tool's for. And your 45-degree double inverted flare, which is this style. I don't work on like European cars that much and stuff like that, so I don't have the tools to do like a bubble flare and some of those other flares just because I never use them. So if I did, I know people that have those tools. I can borrow it to do them on that specific task, but for all intents and purposes, most of us are probably just going to be working with these two flares 99% of the time. So that's what we're going to go over in this video. These ones that you buy that are pre-done from the auto parts store come with a 45, oh, let me get it there. There we go. The 45 double inverted on one side. So what we'll do first is we'll make a new one of those, and then we'll do the Attn style flare. So what we're going to do first, there's a lot of different types of tools for these. These are the ones that I've used for a long time myself, and they've worked really well for me. Not that the other styles aren't better or worse. This is just what I use, and it works really good. This is a Lyle inverted flare blender. I'll have it linked in the description. I'll have all these tools linked in the description. So if any of them seem like they'll be perfect for you, you can try that. So most of your brake lines are going to be 3/16. If you get into some of the older cars or cars with drum brakes in the back, a lot of those will have like a 1/4-inch line going to the back. And people are going to debate back and forth on if you have to run 1/4-inch line to the back on disc brakes or not or whatever. Most of the stuff that I've ever done and most of the stuff I've seen other shops do and other people do, you're fine with 3/16 for just about everything brake-wise. So you put this guy in here, put him, it's bound up. Put them in there a little bit, and then what's cool about this tool is, let me get these snug down. It's got this little spacer piece, so you tighten that in here by hand. That sets your tube at the perfect depth for doing the flare correctly, and then tighten the heck out of this thing so that your line doesn't slip. And then pull your spacer piece out. And then it's got these double-sided ones. This one will do 1/4-inch and 3/16. Like I said, I've probably done brake lines for at least like 20-30 cars with this tool. So this has been my favorite tool to use for doing these. And it's small, so you can do them on the car if you're doing a little on-the-car repair. And it's labeled F1, F2. So first operation, second operation. Your first operation gets it ready for doing that. So it's got a little bit of lube stuff in there. I'm pretty sure it's just axle grease. Something along those lines to lube it up so you're not just metal on metal. You tighten that in, and then you just run this in until it stops. You can see it'll have a hard stop by that nut on there. There we go, we're stopped. Take that out, and then you flip it. If the threads want to start. And this does the last final fold in for your double flare. gonna pop this guy out. And there's our new double flare. You can see it compared to the one that comes on the line. And then your fitting seats up against that. And you're all good. So that's for like your normal standard brake lines. And when you buy, like if you buy a roll of this stuff, it'll come with a kit with all different sizes of ends. And you match those up to what came off your car. I keep mine organized in a box. And now we put this away and we'll do the AN fitting. And then we can get into bending tube and how to route it. So AN fittings are a single flare. So I'll do a big one to show you where it's easy to see. And then we'll do a small one. Show you how those go. So this tool works fantastic. They're all labeled by what size they are, and then it's got the cam that goes down in there. So you pinch this guy in here, set your tube up to where it's flush with the top, right about there. Then he slides forward, tighten down, and that will pinch it. Now that tube can't go anywhere. And you start screwing this down, and it's got like a spike that's off center. So as you're tightening it, it just kind of works its way around and oblongs it, which works great on stainless, which is way stiffer than all the other options. And then when it gets fully opened on there, it's got like a pressure release in here, and it'll click and let go. Right there. See, now it just free spins. So you spin her back. Make sure your spike's clear. And there's your single flare. So, same thing. We're going on 3/16. I'm going to set it where it's about flush with the top. Tighten her down. And then run it out. It snaps, so we know we're all the way flared. Back that out. So the way that AN lines work is you've got your collar that tightens down to your AN fitting. And then you've got your sleeve, and that supports the flare, see? The flare fits inside that. Then this goes over it. Tightens onto your fitting, and you're sealed. So a couple things to remember with these is, pop these off. Before you do your flare, if you have a bend on the other side, these will not go around bends. So you need to put this on first, same as if you're doing 45-degree flares. You put your fitting on first and then you flare it. So with these, you would put your fitting on first, then you flare it, because they won't go around bends, neither will these. These will not go around bends. The tube nuts for AN fittings, I'll show you when we get on the thing, these will go around bends just fine. So if you forget to put this on first, as long as you're not to your last flare on the line, you can slip it on and it'll get down to it. So those are your two main types that you're going to use. All right, we're going to get into the actual bending of the tube now. There's a lot of different styles of tube benders, and some are better than others. Some do things differently than others. So we're kind of going to go over all the styles that I have first. So the first set that I ever got is this style. So you've got interchangeable dies, so it does multiple sizes, and then you kind of pinch the line in here, squeeze them together, and it bends your line. Looking back, this style, even though these are name brand, these are Mac ones, these are a waste of money. There's a reason why no professional tube benders are like this at all. If you're doing steel line or the nickel copper line, you can get away with these pliers. And what's actually really nice about these is if you need to do something really uptight, you can get a much tighter bend radius with these, right? Like you can seat your nut right up to the flare, get this guy right on there, and then with a softer metal like that, you can get right onto it. And that's a lot tighter of a bend than you can get with any of the other styles, and you still have enough room for your nut to work and go on there. The other style that actually I've done a ton of cars with is these kind of universal style ones. This is an Imperial brand one. I actually love this set, especially for steel. You can do stainless, like small stainless, like 3/16 stainless with them. I wouldn't do like 5/16 or 3/8 stainless with these, and I'll go over that with why these bigger ones exist. So when you're doing larger diameter stainless, it's really important that you have these rollers to help it roll along the bend. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot more prone to like flattening out and kinking. I have a set that's like these. I just ordered these ones to do this video because the set that I have is like $300 for this, which if you do them all the time like I do, 100% worth it. If you're just doing your truck or your car, it might not be worth it. So these ones I got off Amazon. I'll link them in the description if they're good. If these turn out to be garbage, I'm not even going to bother linking them. They were like 55 or 60 bucks. So design wise, I think these are going to be okay as long as everything operates smoothly, but we're going to try them out first. And it's another thing that's really important to do is, like I said, all of these bend differently. Is before you just jump into doing whatever your project is, if you haven't used these tools, try them out. Get a little bit of tube and practice with what you're going to do and see how close you can bend to other bends so that you know what you can route. Like I just did a set of transmission lines on another vehicle, and I made all these little test pieces to see how close I can do 90s back to back to do a switchback, because I had to go around a cross member. So it's important to make, just like I do when I'm doing like my roll cage and stuff like that. I'm real big on making smaller test pieces, sacrifice a little bit of material so that your outcome with your big pieces of material are a lot nicer and more refined. It just gives you a better end product that you're going to be happier with, you're going to be more proud of, it's going to look better, it's going to function just as good as long as the other ones aren't kinked. But it's going to look a lot better. It's going to present a lot better. You're going to feel better about it. Everything about that is a win as far as I'm concerned. So we'll try doing this larger diameter 3/8 with the non-rollered version first and see what happens. And the big thing too, when you're doing these, is pay attention to where your fittings are. Because if I bent this, right, like that, and my fitting's not down at the flare, now my fitting's never going to get to the flare. So you're going to mess that up, especially when you're flaring. You're going to make something awesome, and you're going to flare it, and as soon as you're done flaring it, you're going to be like, I didn't put my fitting on there. I've done it 1,000 times. Everyone else that's ever done a bunch of brake lines and transmission lines and stuff has done it 1,000 times. You're going to do it. Everyone does it. Don't feel bad. Just don't feel bad. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. So just accept that and move on with your life. Put it on. Let me flip this around. So we're going to do a 90 first, and we'll see what happens to this line. Let's see. I can't see. So there's our 90, and it actually turned out pretty good. With this one, you can see it's just starting to flatten out there on that outside though. So if I were to go any further, it's probably gonna flatten it out pretty bad. Let's see, we'll go. I'm actually fairly impressed with these on this steel. That's not flattening out too bad at all. Further proof, these are killer. Now let's try the same bend with these ones. Too much rolly stuff on one table. Do your reference point, that way you can tell when your bend actually starts and you have a repeatable reference. So we went to about 135. My rollers are rolling on this. That's about the same. So I'm going to say, actually, for this steel tubing, these did a better job. You can see this inside, you're starting to get a tiny bit of dimpling right here. But if you go for these ones, which are supposed to be better at doing this tubing, you can see it's starting to wrinkle, dun, 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 all down the middle. So I'm gonna say, don't buy these. If you're doing nickel copper or steel lines, these ones will do you just fine. And if you're gonna do stainless line, then you're investing in stainless line, and get the good ones. Don't go cheap on these, because they will mess your tube up. So they're gonna screw up all your real nice stainless. These are not worth getting. All right, well, that brings us to the final step, which is my personal favorite: practice. If you already have your tools, get a cheap spool of wire and bend up some pressels. Make some things to bend tube around. Get comfortable using them. If this is going to be your first time, I will link in the description to the tools that I recommend. And remember, if you don't get started, playing with your tools, you never get finished with your brake lines.